That's some
Good stuff.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Mitch from Good Stuff Gaming, and you are now watching the first episode of my Redstone tutorials series. Now, this episode is going to be covering the basic physics of Redstone and all of its components. I'm not going to be getting into any of the latches or gates yet, or any large contraptions in this episode. So if you already know what goes on with the basic functions of Redstone, then you can leave now, but be sure to just subscribe if you want to see more Redstone tutorials as it gets more advanced. So first we are going to be covering the types of redstone input, and these redstone inputs are the two different types of buttons: the lever, the tripwire, which you'll see at the end, and the two different types of pressure plates. Buttons, lever, that doesn't really do much unless you have a wire, and then the two pressure plates. Next we have right here and I'll cover the physics of these in a sec, but here we've got the three different building blocks of any redstone contraption other than an input device, and that is the redstone dust, the redstone repeater, and the redstone torch, which reminds me, I have to grab a torch real quick. Okay, so I will cover all the basics of these as well later in the video. Now, basic functions of redstone dust. Redstone dust carries a current when you turn it on, and it does not when it is off. Pretty self-explanatory. And another basic physics component of redstone dust is the fact that it can only travel a total of 15 blocks. As you can see right here, this is 16, this is 15. Let's see what happens when I pull this lever. What do you know? This last piece does not power, as redstone can only travel this far. Now you see, when I pull that lever, the door opens on the 15th piece of redstone. That is a must know for any redstone contraption, so be sure to keep that in mind anytime you are building something with redstone. The next basic physic of redstone dust is the fact that it can go up blocks and down as well, and each of these only counts as one, so don't count it as a face. It just goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 5, and it can carry power over blocks if you would like to do that. And next here we have the main input devices for a redstone contraption. First one, actually the simplest one, is the lever. Oops. This lever stays on when you pull it, or off when you pull it again, and it will continually stay on until you decide to turn it off, like that. And another thing with the levers is they can be mounted on walls, like so, and still carry power through this block, because the lever is powering this block, and the redstone here is drawing power from this block right here. Next we have the button and the pressure plate. These are both similar, but also different in their own respects. And also I will cover something real quick with the wooden pressure plates once I'm done covering that. Buttons, they send a short pulse but not continuous. I think it's a 3-tick. You'll learn about ticks later, but 3-tick pulse. I think 3 or 4 ticks. and it turns itself off right away. Now with the pressure plate, it acts the same as a button with a pulse length. Unless you stay standing on top of it, then it will continue to give power to the door. Now, basic function here with the pressure plate. A must-know to hide any redstone involving a pressure plate is the fact that when a pressure plate powers this block that it's on, and this goes for levers and buttons as well, it will also power the redstone dust if there is any underneath that block. So that allows you to hide your redstone very effectively in a lot of contraptions involving any of these. Now I'm going to go into the repeater functions. So as you can tell here, oh, this only goes 15 blocks. How could it possibly go farther than 15 blocks? Well, that is what the repeater's for. Now the repeater can do one of two things, basic function wise. It can extend your redstone signal strength another 15 blocks until you have to use another repeater, and it can also delay the extension of your redstone current up to 3 ticks. Each repeater without any ticks added on is 1 tick, so that makes it actually 4 ticks if you have it on full delay. So I will show you when a repeater is just normal like that, and you pull this lever, and it's, I believe, 18 blocks including that repeater. You will see the door opened and the door closes again. Now when I add, let's just add full delay so you guys will notice that whenever it's delayed, it will hold off for a little bit after you pull that lever to open the door. Now a little more complex, but not really, functions using repeaters here. A repeater can power a block just like a button or a pressure plate or a lever can, if it receives power from like a lever or a button. So you can use this to hide input into a door if you want to, or you can also use it to for these next 2 functions that I will also show. So you know, as I explained with pressure plates, whenever a block is powered like this with a repeater, the blocks around it and under it, not on top but under, well, I mean not like, well, you'll see, but whenever a repeater powers a block, it acts just as if there's a pressure plate on that block or a button or whatever it may be, and it will be able to power this redstone underneath the block, which allows for good movement of redstone effectively without having to go and use just like a regular. It's hard to explain. You'll find that it works really well whenever you're using a contraption, or whenever you're building a contraption and you need to move redstone down a lot. So as you can tell, when I pull that lever, it powers that and will go. Next function, pretty simple. It's just as if you put a redstone dust right there. A repeater will power this block, therefore powering this redstone right on top, and then continuing your pulse. So next I'm going to get into the redstone torch. Oh shoot, I forgot to cover wooden pressure. I'll do that later. Redstone torches, pretty much what they are is they are a continual source of power for redstone. they're useful. You'll see they're useful for larger contraptions, because obviously you don't want to just like have redstone and place a torch. But I'll cover torch in-depth physics with NOT gates and stuff like that, OR gates, I believe they're called, actually, OR gates and stuff like that, where you can invert power. I'll cover that in I believe probably the next video, actually. So also, what's cool, torches will power blocks just like a repeater can, but the block has to be above the torch. So you see, when I place a torch there, it's powering this block so that this redstone here can draw power from it and then go and open this door. So that's a very common use of torches, is putting that block and using that physic piece to work with not only moving redstone power up very easily, but also with condensing redstone contraptions and making them small. Now, whenever you place a redstone torch above, with one block above any redstone dust, it will power the dust, as well as with a block next to that dust. So you can see that redstone dust is drawing power directly from that torch there. Now, real quick, I'm going to go cover this wooden pressure plate function. I forgot to do that. So when I have a wooden pressure plate, you can step on it just like normal. But what makes these wooden pressure plates different is the fact that items can also be used to power them. So, whereas stone pressure plates cannot. So that's all a very useful, actually, tool. So next function we have here is a new repeater function for 1.4, where the repeaters can actually lock each other. So as you can tell, this repeater here, perfectly normal, but whenever it receives power, you can see this this bedrock piece here jumped in. And when it receives power from the side from any repeater, it has to be a repeater, receiving power from that side there, it will lock it. So you can see it does not go and power that door. And this also works for if you want this repeater to stay on. You can lock it in the on position, turn that lever off, and it will work perfectly fine. So and as you can tell, whenever the lock is released, it will lose its power, and vice versa. Whenever it's like that, it will gain power, all of that good stuff. If you can follow what I'm saying, give me feedback on how I'm explaining this, because I'm new to doing the tutorials. But that's how the locking physic on redstone repeaters works. I will post oh, sorry, just dropped my tea. I will post a video of an RS NOR latch and a pulse limiter that I made using this function at a later date, but please know that you saw it here first. Anyways, next we have the tripwires. So what the function of tripwires here, this was new to 1.3. What tripwires do is, you can tell right there, there's the little wire, you just use string and hook it up, but it has to have, I believe, 2 of these for it to work. I'm not positive. But what happens is whenever you walk across this tripwire, it acts like it was a pressure plate, but it just makes it really invisible. Not completely invisible, but quite invisible. And as you can tell, whenever you walk over this tripwire, each of the inputs with this with each of these receiver things here. Each of these inputs will produce power from this block right here and here. Actually, let's test. So yeah, as you can see, it has to have 2 for it to work. So let's pull that out. So as you can see, that is like that. Now, wooden buttons. This is the last part of our tutorial here. Wooden buttons. What wooden buttons do? They act like any normal button, except the fact that you can shoot them with a bow and they will work like that. So this, I will show you guys what a really cool use for this, and I'm guessing you can already guess. Or I assume you can already guess where I'm going with this, but I will show you guys a cool thing that you can do with this, and it'll just be really cool with the bow and arrow with the wooden button there. And actually, I think arrows can also trigger tripwires. Yes, they can. So there you go. First episode of my Redstone tutorials. Hope you enjoyed. Please give me feedback on how well I'm actually doing this, because as I told you before, I'm new to the whole tutorial business, and I can use all the feedback I can get. So please like, favorite, subscribe, and comment. Especially subscribe if you want to learn more about Redstone as it gets more complicated with all of the gates and latches that you see over here, RS NOR latches, all the stuff right there. So subscribe if you want to learn more, and I'll see you guys later.